All right, I'm David Trungale from TraderTours.com/golf, and we are looking at the swing of Viktor Hovland. Film credit goes to Radar Pro Golf, aka Jeff Smith, who has done a tremendous job of coaching Viktor, as Vic is one of the best players in the world currently on the PGA Tour. So, again, this is pulled off of Instagram. The camera angle is probably not designed for a formal analysis. It moves around and it's high and to the right. So just a brief disclaimer there, because that will create the illusion that the takeaway is going farther to the inside than it actually is. So he'll take it ordinarily pretty nicely up the plane originally. But one thing I've noticed with Vic, and this is unique, is that he will keep the club face closed throughout the entirety of the backswing. So you probably would not teach this to most people, but we have to remember that Viktor Hovland is simply not most people. He is a 1 out of a million talent. We can see at the top he's across the line. I think it's a little bit simpler to have the club aimed a bit more on plane. We're going to get to this later. And again, I'm not trying to be overly critical, because there's some brilliant tactics that he applies to the swing, the shallowing in the transition, how he maintains the flexion in the left wrist. We'll get to that, but if we just, again, focus on the club face, even in the downswing, it's closed here, it's a little bit closed here, it's a little bit closed here. Okay, you get the idea. But by the time he comes in impact, it's dead square. So how is he doing this? Because he will just stripe the ball right down the middle, and it's a very powerful swing. So how does he make this work? All right. Well, let's first look at some of the more conventional aspects going on here. So you will see this with a lot of great ball strikers, the element of the hips getting deeper, and then we will see the head ultimately go lower. Now, regarding the plane, once he goes past P2, we're going to see a fair amount of radial deviation here. So he's going to cock the club very upright. So it's not quite perpendicular to the ground, but, you know, this is pretty vertical. Now, I will tell you, though, I would favor this over someone who at P3, also known as left arm parallel, puts the club in a position where they're flat of the plane. The reason why I prefer the club to be more vertical is that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when he has the club more upright and he's tilting and turning back in a steep axis, it's going to help set him up to make this cool transition where the club head kicks this way. But in order for this to work, the hands have to move out, and this is facilitated by the lower body rotating that way. So a lot going on. Check out the increase of angle here from the waist. So again, check out the shaft now. Somewhere around P5, it's parallel to the original plane line. And at no point will it ever fall underneath the right arm. So this is sensational here. I mean, look where his right elbow is. It's well in front of the torso. His head is dropped significantly. His hips are staying back. The camera's moving, so it may look like his hips are sliding forward a bit, but he, really brilliant hip depth. And then check out this. I mean, this is a very demanding position where the shoulders are super steep, tons of side bend, and he's arcing around beautifully. All right, so really neat stuff. Now, to conclude, let's talk a little bit about the wrist. So you hear the terms bowing the wrist or a cupped position. A lot of the guys on tour, just an observation, I suppose, you see it with Dustin Johnson. You see the bowing of the wrist. You see it with John Rahm. You see it with Colin Morikawa, Brooks Koepka. We're talking about this position right here. So the anatomical term would be left wrist flexion. Now Ben Hogan actually had a cupped position where his wrist would be more that way. Tiger Woods in his prime was a bit more neutral. Justin Rose plays with a neutral wrist. So I would prefer for most people probably to be more neutral and have the club again to be a little bit more aimed, somewhere over here. But again, this works based on the variables I discussed earlier with this right elbow squeezing in, the club never getting stuck underneath him. And the key is that he's just going to hang on to this angle and not have to worry about really releasing the club. He's just going to hold on to that flexion so that way the club face is square coming into the ball. So really fascinating swing all in all, and a lot of cool stuff to look at. It's Viktor Hovland for you, and be happy to take a look at your own swing. Send it over to tradertours.com/golf. This is David Trungale signing off, and thank you for watching.